we see that the passion to learn is a lot more because I guess they just don't have that kind of ego problem that we see with the tier one. You can basically learn anything, no matter what you're involved in, whether it's a web app, a mobile app, right, some AI, some blockchain tool. It doesn't have to be like a complete product in itself. It can just be like a single feature, like in terms of blockchain AI, like a single tool that you focus on how to use. But the key is learning to use it well. So, because if you start learning that early on, and especially with the newer technologies where there aren't that many developers who actually know these tools very well, you know, just start, and then anybody can basically hire you, right? It's not about figuring out which company you want to go to, because what I've seen, at least with these web technologies and these computer science technologies and internet technologies, are that if you're good at something, no matter how small the space is, there are always like millions of people out there, and space is only growing exponentially in all directions. So, finding a job, getting money is the next part.
Okay.
First, start learning passionately what you want to do.
Hi guys, I hope you all are doing well. This is the first episode of our Looking Beyond FAANG companies. In this series, we're going to be talking to founders and tech leaders who didn't just go to work for giant corporations, but took the leap to start their own game-changing companies. We will deep dive into why they chose this path, what did they do before starting their own company, what all they look for while hiring a developer, and what advice do they have for newcomers. What is special about this? Well, we are going to be featuring founders whose startups are on the brink of shaking things up in the future. So you're getting unfiltered insights. So tune in for some eye-opening discussions. But before moving forward, take a moment to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you're always notified on all our upcoming videos. And today we have Parth with us. Parth is the co-founder of a YC-funded startup called Rootfi and is also the CTO of the company. The company is based out of Bangalore and it was a part of YC batch 2022. Let's welcome Parth. Parth, can you quickly introduce yourself for our viewers?
Hi, thank you. Great to be here. My name's Parth. And as you described, I'm CTO of Rootfi. Been Bangalore in India all my life. So excited to be here.
Okay, great, Parth. Cool. So I saw on your LinkedIn that Rootfi basically provide companies with unified API, right? So can you tell our viewers a little bit about that? Like what exactly does the company do and how are you solving problems for businesses?
Yeah. So we're in the B2B integration space. We basically help B2B companies integrate into various platforms. So we're basically a data integration platform that helps companies connect to their accounting systems.
Okay.
So we have a unified API, as you said, as you saw on our website. It's basically a new class of APIs that allow businesses to connect to various integrations through a single point. Rather than having to connect individually to different platforms, we sort of unify the landscape of the platforms into a single endpoint. So our customers can just integrate once with us and then get access to all the accounting platforms that are available. So basically, no matter what accounting platform their customers use, they don't have to keep integrating different platforms. They just integrate once, and we've basically covered the entire breadth of all the popular accounting platforms.
Okay, got it, Parth. So how did you identify this problem? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually, like most of the problems we come across, a customer told us about this when we were actually running our previous product, which was like an underwriting tool. It was a loan management underwriting tool, and their customers were looking for data sources. So one of the data sources you need to underwrite businesses is their accounting data. And so they asked us initially to build a Zoho Books integration because they wanted to fetch Zoho Books accounting data for their customers. So looking into the Zoho Books API, Zoho Books is one of the well-documented APIs out there. So we still realize the struggle that is involved in building these accounting APIs. And so we built one of them, and then we asked them about what their other customers are using. And we realized that there's not just one single accounting platform out there. So we took it from there, and then we did a research. And then
Okay, amazing, Parth. So I think it's been quite some time that you guys have been working on this, right? So if it is fine, can you just share few use cases that you guys have already worked on or solved for, if that's fine?
Yeah. So a big use case is basically expense management players out there who basically help companies manage expenses. So these are like
Okay.
your, including your card providers, right? So
Hmm.
people who give corporate cards to companies, they traditionally need to write those corporate transactions back into the corporate's accounting platform.
Okay.
So we help
Okay.
with that reconciliation. And then
Okay.
also accounts payables and accounts receivable space, where basically companies who help businesses manage their invoices, pay off their bills, same way, the reconciliation. And then
Okay.
another class of companies is the underwriting use case, right? That I mentioned,
Hmm.
where
Yes.
companies want to analyze the company's performance, so they
Hmm.
use us to pull their accounting data and then use that in their decision making process.
Okay, understood. Cool, Parth. So I hope this is going well for you so far. So I would like to understand, since you are someone who did your graduation from the US, right? That too in computer science. So like a lot of people do, they do take that traditional route wherein they go study there and then go for a very good company, go and work for a very good company. So but you did not do that. I saw your LinkedIn that you've been building your own thing for quite some while, right? Before that, you've also done something else, that too of your own. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about that? Like, why not go for the traditional route and work for a big giant company and build your own company, especially in
Yeah.
India, like coming back to India and then starting it?
Mhm.
What was the reason
Yeah.
behind that?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So I always sort of knew I wanted to do computer science.
Hmm.
Always liked technology as a kid. So it was a pretty natural fit going to college. So I went to Michigan, Ann Arbor in the US. And it's a great, massive, technology school. In fact, they have a bunch of different schools. So they're ranked, in the top 5, 10 for like a variety of different subjects. Um, so yeah, having that exposure, learning different things was great. But so junior year, I got an internship at Goldman Sachs, and they actually gave me the job offer to join the next year. And
Okay.
that's when I really decide, do I stay in New York and work there, or do something on my own.
Okay.
So the problem for me was, if I stayed back, I was like, I was never inclined to go work for a corporate job. I just didn't have that in me, like, right from day one. And being in the US, it's kind of the only way due to visa problems. You have to
Hmm.
work for a couple of years somewhere, get your visa, and then
Hmm.
you something on the side. But I was too eager to just jump right away, jump into something. So
Okay.
without any plans, I basically rejected them and came back to Bangalore.
Okay,
Um,
so even if we don't, like, even if we talk about that, you did not really exactly know like what you want to work on, but you are pretty clear that it was not going to be for some company out there. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
understood. So then, Parth, for someone like you, because there are a lot of people in India also like who pass out of college, and even when they're in college, they are pretty sure that they want to do something of their own, because they have that sort of personality, but they don't know what problem are they going to be solving for. So how does one then go about it? Like, how do one start to like start building things? How does it happen,
Yeah.
and how did it happen in your case?
Yeah. So I guess it happened for me in college. So college is the best time to actually experiment and do something, especially especially the junior senior year, when you've learned all your fundamentals, you know what you're doing. You have other computer science friends. So for me, it was actually in sophomore year, I got an opportunity to like kind of like a student-led a group that funds students to build their own thing. So I
Okay.
kind of built like an education platform that sort of was enabling people to better learn linear algebra. So it
Okay.
was just that I didn't really like the way linear algebra was taught in college. And after understanding it thoroughly, I was like, there's such a better way to understand these concepts. So we built like a nice, simple simulation education tool to basically demonstrate the concepts.
Okay.
Um,
Got it.
so we got funded over the summer. Like, I stayed back in college over the summer. It was like a group of about 10, 15 of us, each working on different ideas. And then so that's basically like a mini startup, right, in its own way. So just starting off in college, meeting all these people, all working on their different startups. That's when I knew, like, even though I don't have like a clear idea what I want to do, I definitely want to work like this on something big. Because that excitement, that adrenaline rush, just doesn't come from my internship or anywhere else.
Understood. Understood,
So
Parth.
yeah.
So okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
so
So I.
people working there
Hmm.
I would recommend that they just get started, basically, especially with computer science. The ability for you to create apps, for you to learn, is very powerful. In fact, I would say it's one of the most powerful areas of development that you can sort of focus on today. And being computer science, you already have that leg up where you're already learning the fundamentals. So
Yes.
it's about going out there and building whatever you think that is a problem.
Understood. And I think when we specifically talk about computer science field, the whole community is like that people are going to be there to just help you out build something from the scratch. So I think it's amazing that way. So Parth, I also saw on your LinkedIn, like before working on this company Rootfi, you have had quite other work companies as well, right? You have started your other ventures, and then you started to do something else as well. So right, as a founder, I would like to understand, like, how does someone know, like, when is the right time to just stop working on one problem statement and then go pick something else, because you've done it quite some time in the past. So I just would like to understand your perspective on it, like, how do you as a founder decide when to stop working on a problem statement and when to pick another?
Got it. Yeah, yeah. So, when you start something, you're all super excited and you think it's this grand new idea that nobody else done before. It's going to be like $1 million, $1 billion space. You can actually do something and make an impact, right? So that's all great. The momentum's there initially. You build the initial product, the MVP, right? You show it to first friends and family, and then eventually your first customer. And that's when sort of, I would say, the startup really starts. After you have your first customer, you've got that MVP ready, and the MVP can be like super basic, right? You can sort of build it in a week, 2 weeks, all the way to like sometimes it takes like 2 months, 3 months to build like a basic MVP. Basically something that's usable for your first customer, and your first customer can actually start using your product and liking it and finding value in it. So when you get started with that, the feedback that comes in is crucial at that point, because that sort of determines what new features you build, and at the worst case, do you pivot? So the journey begins from there, and with your second customer, third customer, developing features of features. So, but most of the problems that I've seen and why we pivoted in the past was where the customers and the sales cycle gets too long. So every new customer you try to get becomes harder and harder, because and many of the conversations you have with the customers are very negative, and it's a very long sales cycle, very convincing sales cycle to try and show them the potential of this application. So as it gets worse and worse, that's when everyone in the team is wondering, okay, is this the right idea? Have we gone down the right path in terms of features? Was our initial thinking in day one the right idea? So what we now do, and now I insist on doing, is that when you first start your idea, take time and do market research. Of course, something wise as well is that like scope out the customer segment, right? See your competitors, because you're never the only one to do anything in today's space. There was such a big world, and startups across the world building on pretty much same problem. So research, see is this a viable solution, and then sort of put your effort into starting.
Understood. So Parth, I think in your case, you were like pretty adaptable about it, right? I mean, you saw the feedback and you saw the whole cycle. It was taking a lot of time, and then you quickly jump down to the other thing, right? But a lot of the founders, what they do is that they become stubborn about it. Like what they think is that whatever problem statement that they have chosen, it is the only way to go, and they are going to be sticking to it no matter what, because then they see it as something like not giving up attitude, right? Because they think that they are going to overcome it, but the market situation is like telling you otherwise, that it's not going to happen, like all the feedback that you have. So how does, as a founder, someone move up, like develop that kind of mentality, that you are also flexible, you're also adaptable, and you're not stubborn on this one thing, because it's not exactly giving up, but then also understanding and being open-minded about it. So how does one develop it, and how did you also end up developing it?
Definitely. So before Rootfi, we were actually clear money. And so the way we pivoted is that when we see this problem and we see, us struggling to sell, what we do is we identify what the problem the customer is telling us, right? So clearly the problem we're currently solving is not the right way, but doesn't mean you want to completely scrap the product, right? Because we built so much, we put so much effort into learning the industry, learning all the customers. So what we do is we pivot to like an adjacent product. So what we initially started with was like a salary back loans, trying to help employees take their salary in advance, right, during the month. And that was great for the employees, everybody loved it. But the problem was integrating with the companies, right? Selling this product to the companies and having the companies pay us back at the end of the month through their payroll system was very challenging, especially in India, right? For them to open up their accounting books and the payroll is very difficult. So, the sales cycle was becoming really complicated. But so what we realized as we did this entire process was that for ourselves, managing this loan book was super difficult. So then talking to other fintechs out there, other loan providers, we realized that it's a common problem across the industry. So we basically doubled down on the internal tool that we made for ourselves to manage our loan book, and sort of spun that out into a product, and then started talking to customers about that product. And then seeing more interest in that product, we kind of pivoted away slowly, like a loan management system and underwriting system.
Understood. I think that's a pretty good example. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that's the best way to think about pivoting, because but sometimes, of course, like in my previous company, like with the co-working space, it was just a complete pivot because so the WeWork fiasco happened, and the oil rooms, the whole market, I think, wasn't ready for it yet, and then two of us also not in the right headspace. So that's another important thing, is that as founders, are you still as passionate about this idea as you were when you first started? And if the answer is no, then it's a very clear sign that something has to change.
I think, and there is also nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you have all the feedback and everything, and what a lot of people basically start thinking is that they did so much hard work into it, that they put so much energy into it. They cannot just build something else from scratch, but that should not be the case, because market is the king. They will tell you what exactly is going to be working and not. Okay, understood, Parth. So now let's talk a little bit about your YC journey, right? For all the viewers who do not know what YC is, Y Combinator is such a huge thing, which is a funding company that actually funds a lot of startups, right? And it was started quite early. So Parth, can you tell us how was the entire experience like for you, and what are learnings that you got out of from this entire experience that you had in YC?
Yeah. So we were looking into YC primarily because we were three very young founders in the financial services space, and when we traditionally approached people, they pretty much didn't take us very seriously. Especially as a loan management player, they have to trust their entire loan book upon us, and especially the people who run the big NBFs and the banks, are not our age, right? They're much older. So to sort of get that credibility and that seriousness, that backing, we kind of applied to YC and to basically learn, right? Because we had already pivoted twice before, and so we were not sure if we're going the right path or what we're doing. So so we applied to YC the first year, and actually the first time we applied, we didn't get in. We got great feedback on how the loan management space that we had understood was not really the way we were approaching it. So this was the pivotal time where we were a salary back player and a loan management player.
So this was the feedback that you got from YC itself, when you did
the first time we got rejected. Yeah, when we got rejected, we applied the first time, we got rejected, and we applied again the next year and we got it.
Understood. And how about your other founders? Did you meet them in college itself, or how did you get to know about them?
No, so actually it was pretty of a coincidence actually, where after I came back from college, I was just running my own startups for about a year or so, and they had also done the same thing. And they knew each other again through mutual friends, and so they had come together for a couple of months. But they very quickly realized they needed a CTO, somebody with technology experience. So they basically asked all their friends, and then one of their friends was a mutual friend with me, and reached out. We spoke just one time, and we knew that we're a fit because we're all the same age, similar backgrounds. So we started together.
Okay, amazing. So, Parth, I think in our case, the founders were all batchmates from IIT Delhi, right? So it was not big of a deal for them to come together and solve a problem statement. But in your case, you basically met them through mutual friends and all. So can you tell us how, as a co-founder, what problems do you face while working with people whom you don't really know exactly, but on a cause which is going to be there, and you guys going to be working together on it? So how much convincing does it need? And obviously thode thoughts maybe differences hote hain, the guy is thinking something else and all that. So how do you come together, and what all things a person should keep in mind as a founder so that he's working well together with another co-founder?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is actually getting to know the person, and not just getting to know the person for the business you're working in, but actually getting to know them as an individual. So during the first few months when I joined and we started, we every evening after work, we would always hang out, and get to know each other, just talk about our experiences, talk about our lives. So that way, that sort of friendship started very quickly, even though we didn't know each other for many years, right? So I think that is very crucial, because then when problems come up, it's not about you got to realize when the difference of opinions, you have to not to attack the person, but to just see that they have had a different upbringing and therefore different perspective on the problem. And so listening and then, actually coming to a consensus is very important. And what we quickly realized is that because of our varied experiences, so I am in a technology background, and then one co-founder is with the finance background, and another co-founder with the marketing and sales background. So it kind of was a very equal split of expertise. And so we quickly realized where there are differences in opinions, we should always just go for the person who has the most expertise in that area. And then where there are like very big splits, the best thing is just to ask other people, right? Ask more experienced startup founders. There are always an abundance of people willing to help you in startup.
Understood. Cool part. So I think you being the CTO, like you are like pretty aware from the starting, like what job is you're going to be like, what exactly you're going to be working on, what all infrastructure you're going to be building. But for the CEO or like CFO to have, most of the times they have to have those soft skills in them, right? Because they are going to be doing a lot of management related work, right? And you had to like decide on it because you did not know these guys well enough. So you're saying that you spent a lot of time with them after like work and all. So can you tell us like what all values do you look for in a person, like especially when you look for in the co-founders that you think could be a well fit for you like to work with, and also in like co-founders in general as well, like what should they have if they're looking forward to be a CEO of the company or CFO of the company now that you've worked so well?
So one of the big things that I noticed early on was that basically the hard work and dedication, I think that's like number one priority you should look for when someone starting a company with co-founders, because it's not just a 9-to-5 job, right? Because you wouldn't be a startup if you're just coming to work at 9 and leave at 5, right? So, and in fact, at all hours of the day, we would message our group chat, especially when a news article comes in. So it was very obvious that all of us are constantly thinking of an idea, because we would send each other random, industry news articles that we find while reading through our social media feeds. So, and when the article does come out, we all read it and we all talk about it, and then it happens again a few hours later. So I think the idea that your startup is always on your mind shows that level of dedication that your co-founders has as well. And then I think just as a nice person, because whenever conflicts come up, how do people approach that, right? Like you don't want to start a fight, you don't want to raise your voice, the way people act, I guess in general, what makes a good friend, I would say also makes a good co-founder.
Understood. I think what basic thing that you would be looking for is like the work ethic as similar as you have. Then I think if that is sorted, then everything else can be worked out pretty well.
Exactly. Because no matter what the problem is, end of the day, everyone finally wants to start to succeed. If that's the same goal for everyone, then you all will come to a consensus and find the best way forward.
And also not let your like ego get into it. Like obviously everyone's opinion is like should be taken into consideration, and if that is done, then it's good. Okay, cool. But so now let's talk a little bit about your YC experience. We were starting on that. So can you tell us like how when you got your approval into it, how's the entire experience like? And now that obviously you must have seen a lot of other startup founders there as well, like who are working on building big things. So what all things like your perspective has changed on a lot of things right after coming from that experience? So what are things that you've learned there, and now that as a founder you apply in your life, because iske pehle bhi you have worked in some other things as well. So now after this experience, what are things you've learned and you apply as a co-founder or as a CEO in your life?
So when we got in, so we got rejected the first time, and then we applied again, and then we were actually the first batch that was not remote. So they had like a half and half option. So, but unfortunately, two of us could not go because of visas. But one of our co-founders, a US citizen, he went. And so basically, the experience about, I guess, talking. So the idea is that every week you talk, you put in a group with other startups who are in a similar space, and you basically talk to them about their progress, and you pitch your progress, right? So you basically make a plan over months as to how you're gonna do a lot more when you first started, and they basically keep you on track week over week, so that
Okay.
you don't fall behind.
Okay.
Because it's very easy sometimes in the larger space as you're building products to just forget about constantly moving forward, constantly selling,
Yes.
constantly to customers. So having that reminder was great. And then of course the one-on-one, they really went deep into our core business problem that we first started with, and why are you in this business and why are you the best people to solve this. So that basically advice and seeing your startup peers again week over week improve sort of makes you want to improve as well. And because usually when people build startups, they're in silos, right? Everyone's just in their own sort of team building and hustling and working. But here, sort of see everybody in the open, sort of telling their problems, sharing their
Yes.
experiences, and sharing their growth metrics essentially. So inspiring
Understood.
journey out there, yeah.
Okay, cool. So Parth, what I have seen, like a lot of startups these days, they sort of also flex this that they are bootstrapped, right? And some startups are funded. So like there is this debate always going on, like whether your startup is bootstrapped, and then they sort of try to flex on it. So what do you think as a founder? Like when is the right time, and does it even really matter if your startup is like bootstrapped or funded? How big of a difference does it really make?
Yeah, so we at Rootfi also believe in bootstrapping, definitely. Again, the reason we did YC was more of a stamp of approval to the world that hey, like we're legit, especially in the financial industry. But before YC, we always have a mentality of not to spend too much money, because I think that's the basic bootstrap mentality. So I don't think it actually matters if you are actually bootstrapped or have raised money. It's the mentality that you have in your startup of can you just burn money on anything, or should you act as if it's like your own personal income. It's like your own personal income, right? So that way you're automatically frugal about spending.
Think that's fair, please.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's been our mentality. Even though we've gone through YC, we've raised money, we've always kept that mentality within us. So yeah, it's been great.
Understood. Okay. Cool part. So now let's talk a little bit about software development in general, because you are also the CTO of the company, right? And you must have seen that in India the coding community is also huge now, right? I mean, a lot of the college people who probably did their graduation in something else, but they're moving towards this field, trying to have a career in tech, right? So you as a developer, like you are also the CTO of the company. So what are things do you look for while hiring people, right? And what all things, like you can just share in general, like up and coming developers, what are things they can work on apart from their coding skills, and what your view is on this key, like if you are really good at coding, if you have some sort of thinking in your head that you would want to build something from scratch, should they be start working for some MNC out there, or should they build on a startup or something like that? So can you tell us your opinion on it? How should the fresher go about it, and what are things you look for in a developer while hiring?
Yeah. So the main thing that I look for, and it's worked out great with our first employee and our first few employees, is basically the ability to learn and do things on your own, right? Because as a small team, it's very difficult for me as the tech founder to sort of be involved in the nitty-gritties of everything you're doing. So that independence, that growth mindset of taking responsibility on something and leading it as if it's your own startup in a way, your own project. That's the key. Because especially as a co-founder, there's many things that I do besides technology and besides just coding. So having, especially with your first few engineers, they really need to have that sort of founder mentality within them. So when I talk to other people, and what I encourage everyone to do, and which again we've seen with our first few employees, is that in college, they started their own projects on the side, right? They were always willing to learn beyond what school taught them, into all the technologies that exist, into learning those things, and then using that to sort of build, however small, however trivial, but at least using that to build something where they see as a problem. So in school, of course, it's mostly education related. So many of them build like education tools similar to what I did as an education tool, to help students, help the faculty, help their parents, keep the administration, keep touch. Different small tools, basic MVPs. It's not like a great business or anything, but the ability for them to have learned how to create an app on their own, because school doesn't teach you that, and then actually build it either alone or with a group of friends, and then actually taking that built product and showcasing to someone to try and get them to use it. That I think that basically is the startup journey. And if you've done that independently, whether it's in college or even when working, right? Because even when working, I mean, if you're really passionate about doing something, you should do something.
Understood.
So I look at that. So if I see that in someone, right, we tend to basically hire them. Our whole philosophy is that we'll take them in for the first 3 months and see if it's a good fit. So it's kind of like a interim job application, like a internship almost.
Okay.
What we do from all the employees the first 3 months, and then after that we sort of have like a really big evaluation, and like talk with them as to for the right fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Cool, Parth. So I think one more thing that I would like to ask, you went to like one of the best colleges in the US to do your graduation, and then in also India, we also see like there are like top IITs, and you get specific kind of students from there, and then there are other kind of students in tier 3. So when it comes to you hiring as for a developer role, how much of a difference do you think as a founder make, like someone being from a very good college and the kind of skills they are going to be possessing, and someone from a tier 3 college, they maybe did some course, CS developer course from a boot camp. So on what level difference do you see, like on the skills thing, like when you are hiring? And do you think as a founder you make this distinction in your head, whether someone is from a good college or whether someone is like from a tier 3 college but really good at skills?
Yeah. So actually we prefer and basically are hiring only from tier 2 and tier 3 colleges.
Okay.
And we're looking for people actually so a bootcamp is one way definitely to learn. So people who learn how to code basically on their own, not just from college. And again, back to what I was saying earlier, right? That having learned it and then applied it, and we see that traditionally happening more in tier 2, tier 3 colleges, where that hunger, that drive is there. And talking to, we've talked to IIT, BITS Pilani, all the tier 1 colleges, I think they just feel entitled to work at a corporate. They just know how good they are, and they know the prestige of their rank in their school. So we just never feel it's the right fit for that. So it's both on a salary level and on a personality level, right? Both ways, it works out a lot better for us.
Okay. So Parth, you mentioned that you specifically prefer people from tier 2, tier 3 colleges, right? Just because of the attitude difference as well. So maybe can you tell any interesting hiring anecdotal story that you have in mind? Like obviously you've hired quite a few developers now for this company. Any interesting one that you thought was going somewhere else, but then it went really well and the person is doing really well in the company?
Yeah. So actually, so our first employee was from Andhra University. And again, he had basically learned Firebase, learned how to use Google products and build his own thing. So we basically needed him for a mobile app. So he had learned how to build mobile apps from scratch on his own. So it was no need to think about anything, just straight up hire him on the spot. And it turned out great, right? He was with us for a few months. It turned out great. And then so when we wanted to hire our second engineer, we just asked him, like, what are your friends? Because like anyone like you would be perfect. So he actually said that he does have one of his friends who's looking for a job as well. But he only said that the only problem is this guy's never coded before. He barely learned anything in, like he did computer science well, but he was never super interested in schooling in computer science. He never did any side projects outside of it. But he said he's a good guy. Like he's now willing to learn. Now that he's graduated, he's working for a company. He actually did a boot camp. I don't know from where, but he did a boot camp to learn like front-end coding. And so why he said, okay, now he's like serious, and he really does want to start getting into the CS space. So, and he prefers, of course, working in a startup because he's been telling him about his experiences at Rootfi. So he's very down to join us. So we were a bit skeptical as to, okay, he's never done computer science, like, you're openly telling us this. But we spoke to him. He again told us very sincerely that he really wants to learn. He's never, again, openly admitted he's never done anything. But he's done it with this boot camp as the first way of learning. So, we took a chance, we hired him. And of course, initially it was a bit slow because, we sort of trained him in-house. But the key is going to learn, right? And that's what we actually look for in these tier 2, tier 3 colleges. we see that passion to learn is a lot more because I guess they just don't have that kind of ego problem that we see with the tier one. Yeah,
Okay.
so it turned out great. So now he's been with us now, yeah, since the last 2 years, and he's basically now trains our next employees. Same with us.
Amazing.
It's great.
That is quite a story, Parth. That is amazing. Okay, cool. I think this is quite a insightful thing that is coming out of this. That like tier 2, tier 3 college people, they know that they somehow, initially when looking for a good college, maybe they didn't have a good rank, but then they now are aware of it and they're building things. And especially about the coding community, like I've seen people who join bootcamp, even though they're coming from tier 3 college, they end up landing such great packages also because of their attitude mostly. And yeah, that is one thing that to look for. So Parth, one last question about your company, right? What are your future plans about it? Like where do you maybe guys see yourself in the next coming 5 years down the line?
Yeah. I don't know about 5 years, but yeah, at least our 2 to 3 year roadmap is basically, so we're in this unified space for accounting, and our goal is to sort of expand horizontally and vertically. So horizontally into categories related to accounting in the financial space. So we basically want to be like the one stop for business to integrate to get financial data about their customers. So whether that's accounting, banking data, payments, e-commerce, CRM data, everything that can basically determine the health of a company, we sort of want to expand it that way horizontally. And in terms of vertically, we sort of want to just be more than a data aggregation platform and get to high level insights, especially with the whole AI movement. Since we are the data platform with all the data, we can definitely do more to more than just standardizing data into generating insights for our customers.
Understood, Parth. And we wish you all the best for your future, right? So this next small segment for this whole podcast, then I'm going to end it here, will be a small rapid fire sort of a thing with you, right? I'm going to be asking you 3 questions, right? And you just have to, like, you can take your time. It's not going to be exactly rapid fire, but you can let us know, right? So first question that I'm going to be asking would be like, what would be your favorite book as of now, right? You are a founder now, and it could be anything, like from the tech space or like non-tech. Yeah. Which is your favorite book?
Walter Isaacson, Steve Jobs, Walter Isaacson book, his biography. Yeah, that was one of my all-time favorites.
Any one lesson that you would like to share? Like, what hit you the most, like from that book?
Yeah, I guess it's the detail that he went to about Steve Jobs' life. Traditionally, before that, I mean, his story was always out there, but his life in general, I mean, Steve Jobs' life is very inspiring to me. Where as a non very technical person, he had a mix of technical and soft skills, and the whole hustle from day one into creating, like wanting to create something beautiful, and then the whole inspiration with his Apple farms to create the company Apple, and then how he got fired, how he learned and came back as a new person. Just this whole life story is very inspiring to me. Yeah, so seeing that in detail, because I think one of the most detailed biographies out there. So
great. Amazing. Cool. So next question, Parth, would be which is that one founder that you maybe look up to most? Because now that you're also a founder and you've met a lot of people in YC also, so can you tell us, is there any specific founder that you're following?
So I mean, I guess Steve Jobs is the all-time favorite, but there's this Balaji Srinivasan. He's not really a founder, I guess, but he's the ex-CTO of Coinbase.
And he's very active on Twitter as well.
Exactly, very active. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, his whole idea of the Web3 space is also something very interesting. So,
Got it. Cool. And one last question would be, what is that when one tech trend that you're most excited about? I mean, there are a lot of things coming into the space, something with AGI or something with crypto, all of that. So, what is your favorite? Like, which you're most excited and also very hopeful about in the future?
Yeah. So I think hopeful is blockchain gaming. It's a small niche, I think, but I've been getting more interested into it recently, and just seeing the space. I think it's going to be great in the near future.
Okay, that is it. Thank you so much, Parth, for taking out time to do this with us. I hope people watching it will find it extremely insightful and start with their preparation as soon as possible. Anything else that you would like to tell our viewers, or any advice that you would like to give it to the aspiring developers out there?
Basically just, there's so many technologies, especially in the coding world out there, whether it's the old and the new, right? The new being all the AI blockchain space, and the old being your traditional web technologies, your apps and everything. You can basically learn anything. no matter what you're involved in, whether it's a web app, a mobile app, right, some AI, some blockchain tool. It doesn't have to be like a complete product in itself. It can just be like a single feature, like in terms of blockchain AI, like a single uh, tool that you focus on how to use. But the key is learning to use it well. So, because if you start learning that early on, and especially with the newer technologies where there aren't that many developers who actually know these tools very well, you know, just start, and then anybody can basically hire you, right? It's not about figuring out which company you want to go to, because what I've seen, at least with these web technologies and these computer science technologies and internet technologies, are that if you're good at something, no matter how small the space is, there are always like millions of people out there, and space is only growing exponentially in all directions. So, finding a job, getting money is the next part.
Okay.
First, start learning passionately what you want to do.
Amazing. That is amazing insight, Parth. I hope people will follow in it, and we really hope that Rootfi continues to do really well in future. And all the best. And thank you so much again.
Great. Thank you. Bye bye.
That is it for today's video, guys. I hope you all find it extremely insightful. We will be bringing in more such guests in future. So what kind of questions do you want us to cover in those discussions? Do let us know in the comment section below. We will cover them next. Till then, keep learning. And if you guys are interested in learning coding, you can just go to our website and take the skill eligibility test. This test will definitely help you identify which course is best for you, be it MERN Stack or Java Full Stack. Both the courses have amazing instructors from top IT companies, and they will be there to have one-on-one discussions with you and help you along your way. So do make sure that you check out. And if you guys are new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you're always notified on all our upcoming videos. Thank you so much.